All right, continuing on. I think it's been maybe 40 minutes, 45 minutes. I've cleared the countertop a bit. So here's our dough. It's expanded out and it's sticking to the bowl a little bit. So I usually take my spatula and just kind of get it under here to release it. It'll eventually come away, and then I just come around the edges like this. It's a good idea if you can to keep the top intact as much as possible. That's why I don't just pull it out and get all messed up, because we're going to go and form this into 6 dough balls of about 275 to 80 grams each. And for that, I'm going to use just my bench scraper. Again, the countertop is nice and clean, no flour. We're going to put the dough into my proofing box. Got this off Amazon. You don't have to have one of these. You do want the dough, the balls in here to be covered, airtight. And ideally, so what I like about this, as opposed to like a shallower Tupperware, is I don't really want the dough to hit the top and stick, so that when you take off the top, it starts messing up the nice gluten mass that the dough balls have. So you could find something else. It could be in individual bowls. This, because I make pizza so often, I went ahead and picked this up. All right. So I'm going to prep this box just with a little flour on the bottom. It has these little ridges on the edge. So really what I'm aiming for is I like to get just a little bit of flour up on those edges around here, and just sprinkle generally. Probably not a big deal if you left all the flour out, but that'll help when we go to release it. So now to make the balls, I'm just going to come in here and cut all the way down and then kind of shake it loose. So you can readjust these with sizes, and after you do this for a while, you kind of get used to, like, okay, here's about 1/6 of it. For me, going about like that, and I just pull it, I just slide it away. All right, let me see, make sure you can see this. Again, the easiest way, using this kind of shaking motion, you can release the dough, so the top not sticky. So when I'm separating that, I usually kind of separate it into 6 pieces, and then I'm going to come back and form them into balls. That way I can readjust a little bit. And that one flipped over. Flip it back on its... Alright. So we have 6 here. You can kind of see that one's probably a little small. I may readjust these as I go. But the process for, it's a similar process that we used for the big ball. I'm just going to come around and really kind of knock it gently. You can see it forms into a nice little dough ball. There shouldn't be any edges like this. All that gets tucked underneath. At this point, when I move it, you can, again, that's not sticky. I'll slide under, top, and then I can just throw it over there. So I'll pull this one over. You can, remember, you're using the surface tension, so you don't want this to be floured. If I'm trying to get this underneath, I'm going to kind of push it that way. this used to be my least favorite part, because if you're doing this with your hands, the dough gets all sticky. Again, on YouTube, you'll see them form balls with their hands, and they're kind of folding over on itself. I I try it occasionally. It's really hard without getting it all messy. I don't know why you would do that if you have one of these. So I'll do this motion where I go in and I'm pulling it down. And what you turn out with is a nice dough ball. Put it over there. Put this one here. This one looks like the smallest one. So I'm going to steal from one of these other ones in a second. I think I'll steal from that guy. I'll steal a little bit from this guy. You can weigh these if you really want to when you're first starting out. Just get the scale out and plop it down. But ultimately, it's just going to mean one pizza is slightly bigger than the other. Not a big deal. This guy that we adjusted, I'm going to bring him back so that we can really form that under. You can, if you want to try and retain the surface tension as much as possible, if I flip this over, you can see where it wants to kind of pull apart. You can pinch that together. If you get a lot of surface tension, you can really get it to some vertical, some height on the ball instead of being low and flat. And if it's pinched underneath, it will kind of hold that better than if it's not. So once that's done, I'm gonna put the 6 balls 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So when this part's done, I come under. I'm gonna come all the way under, flip it up in my hand, and plop it down. And then I'll come to the next one. Get that surface tension, my hand. I did that a little wonky, but it'll turn out. I might adjust this a little bit. Once there's a little flour, so they do slide a bit. I don't want to touch them too much, because if you start getting them pulled out, I want it to retain that surface tension. That's what's going to help them not just spread out as they rise too much. It minimizes that. So I might use, pull that guy back out. Be a little more. Exactly. So we've got the 6 balls done. This is going to get a lid. I'm going to leave it on the counter for 30 minutes. It's only 9:45 in the morning. I'm going to make these tonight. If I let this sit on the counter until 5, they would be overproofed. Just kind of spread out. It's a real balance how long you want to let it sit. So it will continue to proof in the refrigerator without rising too much. So it needs some heat to rise, at least room temperature. So because I want to delay that process, I'm going to put it in the fridge, and then at about probably 12:15, I'll pull it back out and put it on the counter and leave it there for the next 4.5, 5 hours until it's ready to use. And hopefully you'll see what it's like at that point. The minimum amount of time that I like to have I can do this whole process starting just after lunch. So 12:30, 1 o'clock is probably the latest I would want to do it if I want to make pizza that evening. You do the dough, you mix it, you let it sit for an hour, make the dough balls, and just leave it on the counter. At that point, it's gonna it's gonna rise appropriately, get some air in the dough, and it's about ready by 5:30, 6 o'clock. All right, we'll check back when we're ready to make pizza.